Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Wait, you don't like his house? You know what I had talked about? And Dylan? What Callie looking? Peanut butter. Peanut butter.
Hi, John.
Hi, Zinnia.
I can hear you well.
Good. No buzz.
Oh, wait. Speak again?
No buzzing, I hope.
Okay, no.
Okay. Hi, Marika.
So it looks like we're just missing Dan and Rosara.
I understand Rosara is traveling and will not be in attendance. Thank you, by the way, for that update, Maya.
All right, Chair Pons, it looks like we're all here and we can begin the meeting when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Camaro. Good evening and welcome to the regular Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 meeting of the St. Helena Planning Commission. There's a couple paragraphs I need to read before we get started. So this meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of Government Code Section 54-953 as amended by AB 361, which authorizes teleconference meetings under the Brown Act during certain proclaimed states of emergency. The Governor of California proclaimed a state of emergency related to COVID-19 on March 4th, 2020. This teleconference meeting is necessary so that the city can conduct essential business and is permitted under Government Code Section 54-953 in order to protect public health and safety of attendees. Consistent with Government Code Section 54-953, this Planning Commission meeting will be held via teleconference only and will not be physically open to the public. Commission members and staff will teleconference into the meeting by audio and/or video. The meeting will be conducted via Zoom webinar. Planning Commission meeting will be live streamed on Comcast Channel 28 and on the city's website, barring technical difficulties. Those members of the public wishing to participate must do so remotely via Zoom electronic meetings in the following ways: by either logging into the Zoom link located on the meeting agenda and enter the meeting ID, or by calling a listed number and enter the meeting ID. Public comment for Planning Commission meetings will be accepted via email to publiccomment@cityofsthelena.org. All public comments must be emailed by 3 p.m. prior to the meeting. Emailed public comments will not be read out loud, but will be publicly available and attached to the online Planning Commission agenda. Secretary Gamero, do you have some more information for us?
Yes, Chair Ponce, I will be pulling up a screen. Okay, for members of the public that wish to participate in public comment via phone, you can do so by dialing 669-900-6833. At the prompt, enter the meeting ID 824-1764-6318. You can press pound, and during public comments, press *9 to speak. And that will be all, Chair Ponce.
Thank you, Secretary Gamero. Commissioner Anderson, will you lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. I will formally call the meeting to order and ask Ms. Gamero to take the roll, please.
Thank you, Chair Ponce. Commissioner Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Rothfeld,
Here.
Commissioner Segura is absent, Vice Chair Hale,
Here.
and Chair Ponce.
Here. Thank you. That takes us to item 3, which is public forum. This is an opportunity for the public to address the commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. Because of the restrictions imposed by the Brown Act, the commission may not engage in discussion nor take action on matters not described on the agenda. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the commission, Secretary Gamero?
There are members of the public, but none wish to raise their hand at the moment.
Thank you. That takes us to item 4, consent items. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of considering alternative action, for extended discussion, or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. We have only the minutes of March 15th, 2021 on the consent calendar. Is there any member of the commission that wishes to pull those minutes for further discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Gamero, is there any member of the public that wishes that item to be pulled for further discussion?
No, Chair Ponce.
Thank you. Then a motion would be in order on the consent calendar, please.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second,
We have a motion and second. Ms. Gamero, will you tally the votes?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hale,
yes.
Commissioner Rothfeld,
Yes.
and Chair Pont.
Yes. That takes us to public hearings. We have one public hearing this evening. 5.1, request by Simon Bull for adoption of a resolution approving a use permit in order to permanently establish an art gallery in the Richie Building located at 1331 Main Street in the Central Business Zoning District. Okay, I would like to call the public hearing to be open. At this time, members of the commission are requested to disclose any ex parte communications they may have had. Are there any members of the commission that so wish to declare? Okay, I do not see any, but I will take a second here and read the definition of ex parte communication in our bylaws, which is hereby defined as any additional factual information obtained by commissioners that pertains to an individual decision, including visiting a project site, meeting with a project applicant, and or meeting with interested citizens. In which case, I do have something to disclose. I got a call from a member of the public just recently, Mr. Wayne Armstrong, and he expressed his desire to have this project approved as written. I think that's all I've got. So that takes us down to staff report. Director DeRosa, is this Senior Planner Haycock's item?
It is indeed.
All right. Aaron, please,
All right.
the stage is yours.
Thank you, Chair Pond. I will share my screen here. Okay. So the existing building, known as the Richie Building, was constructed in 1892. It is a multi-level building in the heart of the city's central business district with 3 retail tenant spaces on the ground floor. The subject tenant space was home to the Goodman's department store from 1981 to 2016. After Goodman's closed, the tenant space remained vacant for a number of years before Simon Bull of Muse Gallery submitted a temporary use permit application in August 2019 to open his gallery. Pursuant to Municipal Code Section 17136050, the approved temporary use permit was valid for 1 year from the date of issuance. Continuing the use beyond the 1 year required that the applicant file an application for a permanent use permit rather than a temporary use permit. Upon completion of an internal audit of issued temporary use permits the city staff completed in 2021, planning staff noted that the applicant had failed to apply for a permanent use permit as required, and a notice of expired permit was sent to the applicant. Upon receipt of this notification, the applicant promptly contacted staff and began getting their use permit application together for submission. Scroll down here. Here is the exterior of the Richie Building. The tenant space is located in the center in between the 2 spaces on the right and the left. The applicant is now seeking use permit approval in order to permanently establish an art gallery in the tenant space formerly occupied by Goodman's. The existing tenant space is 4,156 square feet in total, which includes 3,556. Oh, my computer's freezing. Scroll down here. So there's the back of the building real quickly. And here is the floor plan. So yeah, again, it's 3,556 square feet on the main floor. And there's a small, for the gallery, and then a small break room and restrooms toward the rear. Toward the back, there's a 600 square foot mezzanine, which is space for, they have a small office and some storage space. The applicant anticipates hosting a total of 6 events per year for new exhibition openings and private gallery viewings. Most of these events will occur during business hours, and no event will run later than 8 p.m. Event attendance will not exceed capacity as allowed by the fire code. Total gallery area capacity is 110 people, according to the fire department. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. No exterior modifications are being proposed at the existing building, and a sign permit application will be submitted for any new or more modified signage. So staff is aware of 5 public correspondence that we received today. A couple of them trickled in a little late. Originally, 2 of the 5 were in opposition. 3 of the 5 were in favor of the project. However, Elaine Honig sent a very late email this afternoon recanting her opposition and supporting the project. So out of the 5 commenters, we now have 1 in opposition and 4 in support. The applicant has operated the gallery at this location for over 2 years without any known negative impacts on the city or the immediately surrounding area, and is occupying a space that sat vacant for many years. Staff finds that the project meets and/or complies with the required findings to approve a use permit for the proposed art gallery. And for these reasons, staff recommends that the Planning Commission determine that the project is exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, and accept the required findings and adopt a resolution granting use permit approval to establish an art gallery in the existing tenant space located at 1331 Main Street. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant is here, and I know they would like to speak on behalf of their project.
Does any member of the commission have any questions of staff at the present time?
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Please, Commissioner Rothfeld.
Yeah, so I just have, they're more procedural. So I want to understand what happens if we, what the implications are of approving a permanent use permit for this space. So does the use permit run with the location? So they leave and a new gallery could come in?
That's correct. The permit
Okay.
would run with the land in perpetuity. If hypothetically they left and it sat vacant for a certain amount of time, the city could initiate action to revoke the use permit, but we would be required to provide written notice to the property owner and allow them due process to appeal our potential revocation of that permit.
Okay, and then, so I guess I don't see the downside of granting a permanent use permit here, because how I understand it based on what you just said is like, I know that some of the pushback came from the fact that we don't maybe want another art gallery on Main Street. So my question, just for clarification purposes, is say that we grant this permanent use permit and then Muse decides to leave and a clothing store wants to come in. That clothing store wouldn't be foreclosed from going into the space just because we granted a permanent use permit to an art gallery. We're just extending the scope of the permanent use permit to include art galleries. Is that correct?
That's correct. It wouldn't preclude a clothing store or any other permitted use from moving in.
Okay. So the downsides, in my mind, are nothing, because it either is a vacant space if we deny the permanent use permit. Could we deny a permanent use permit and could they reapply for a temporary use permit? Is there a limit to the amount of temporary permits?
1 year. They can't. If a use permit's required, they only get 1 year. So
Okay.
they wouldn't be permitted to apply for another temporary use permit.
Okay.
Any other questions? I don't see any hands. I have a couple, if you would please, Senior Planner. Could you, given that this temporary use permit expired some time ago, could you describe for us any changes in process or procedure that now is being in place or has been in place to look at these temporary use permits on an ongoing basis so this kind of thing doesn't happen in the future?
Sure, and not to make excuses, this one did expire, right in the heart of the initial wave of the pandemic. So I think we were all scrambling a little bit, and it just it got lost in the weeds a little bit. But yes, we have instituted a tracking system. We are tracking all issued temporary use permits now. So we know when they're coming up to expire and are letting folks know that they are up to either move out or file for a permanent use permit.
Thank you. And that question wasn't based on any fault I saw in the actions of the Planning Commission staff. I just wanted to assure the public that with these new temporary use permits, this is a glitch that we went through. We've now got a system in place that takes care of it. Just unfortunate that it happened to be this one. It could have been somebody else. Next question. So the hours of operation for this will be basically 10 to 8, right? And that's what's in the resolution. But the 8 o'clock is generally speaking only for events. But there is, what are the hours of operation for the other 4 or 5 galleries that we have on Main Street?
I do not know off the top of my head. So some regulate hours of operation, some don't. I don't know what their hours of operation are. It seems to me that most of them close around 6, 5 or 6 most evenings, but I don't know if any of them stay open later than that.
I just want to be assured that whatever we're may do for this gallery doesn't either greatly exceed or fall greatly short of what the others have.
No, I think even if they wanted to stay open until 8 p.m. 7 days a week, I personally wouldn't see that as a major issue.
No, I wouldn't really either, but I'm just wondering, are the others said, well, you're open from 10 to 5 and that's it. So I'm just trying to gauge if the others are much longer or much shorter, or if this one is in the range of the others. Yes, Commissioner Anderson.
Just looking on Google, it looks like most of them close at 5 or 6, like 11 to 6 or 10 to 5 or.
Okay. But do they have the 8 o'clock kicker? I think would be the question at the end of the day.
And Chair Pond, I would also say when it's the applicant's turn to speak, they can help clarify those operations and what they're anticipating. I think that would be a benefit of their presentation.
This question isn't so much just on this gallery, it's how does this gallery compare to the others, frankly. So I just want to make sure that whatever we do tends to be in the range of what the others got, or we look at some point perhaps suggesting the others be modified so they're all about the same time. And that brings up my second question. If you had a permitted use downtown, would there be any limit to your hours of operation?
No, I don't believe
No.
so. We wouldn't
Okay.
have any authority to regulate that.
Okay. So if you get a use permit, we end up essentially restricting more what you can do, possibly or probably.
Yeah, and there's no requirement that we put the hours of operation as a condition. That's not a requirement.
So this is more of a question based on perhaps we should consider in the future some sort of gauge or something that allows these businesses that operate under permit to operate more like their fellows, unless we have a good reason to say no. That's all I'm trying to get to. All right. That was it for me for questions of staff. Does anyone else have any questions of staff? No? So if the applicant wishes to speak, this would be the time for the applicant to do so. Ms. Bull, are you here to speak?
Hi, yes, I am here. Got my video on. Hi. Here there.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I just want to say thank you all for hosting this and hearing me speak. My name is Catherine Bull Salinas, and I, along with my husband, Jeff, and our local staff, we run the gallery. So as you know, we opened under the temporary use permit, and we opened at the end of 2019. So we've seen 2 wildfire seasons and of course, COVID. and we're still here in town, and we love being a part of this local and vibrant community. We have 3 children, and they're in the local schools, and we know many of the other merchants on Main Street. In support of our application, I wanted to keep it simple instead of, the commission report really outlines a lot of the true details of the application. But I also wanted to share with you just some of the comments from the comment book that we have in our gallery that is signed from people all over the world. But I wanted to share some of the comments from locals that have signed. I want to impress upon you guys that we are a gallery that has incredible fine art that is for locals and tourists alike. And it's not just about the artwork that we sell and that we offer and we believe in as a gallery isn't just about purchasing the art. It's about experiencing the art and coming into the world and letting the art take you on a journey. And I believe that's something that we do, and I believe that enhances the local community. So here, I want to just share with you 2 comments from the book from locals. So, dear Simon, we follow you and we love seeing you paint. We are so grateful to have your gallery here in town. It brings so much beauty and wonderful energy to our lives. Thank you. With light and blessings, Anna and Doug. And then I have another. I feel so at peace and yet so lively in this gallery all at the same time. Thank you for bringing a glimpse of God's goodness here. Julia, Calistoga. And there was one more from a local. I mean, and these are just the people that have written their towns from where they live. Everything I have seen here in this gallery is incredible and mesmerizing. It has filled me with the most joy. You are so gifted, and I am grateful to have experienced your work. Please continue spreading the love. St. Helena, Rain, St. Helena. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because I do believe that our gallery brings enrichment to the town. We don't rely on, we're not dependent upon the mass tourist market. We've sold to over 45 locals here in town. And that's just artwork. That's not including notebooks, journals, and kind of smaller items. So yeah, I really believe that we are an added, we really add something to the town. And also in terms of hours of operation, our hours of operation are 10 to 5, which is the same as Arena Galleries and Caldwell Snyder and most of the other retailers on Main Street. Until 8 o'clock would only be during, that would be the very latest. That would be only during events that we host, and we would host no more than 6 events throughout the year. And for the events that we've hosted so far this year, none have ran later than 7 p.m.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the applicant? I don't see any hands or any more questions of staff for that matter. I still do not see any hands. So at this point, I would like to request any public testimony either in support of or in opposition to the project as proposed. Secretary Gamero, is there anyone out there who wishes to speak on the project?
Let me give it a couple of seconds to see if anybody raises their hand, Chair Pont. I don't see members of the public raising their hand.
Okay. So on that basis, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Is there any member of the commission that wishes to bring up items of interest on this project or items of concern? I don't see any hands. I do have one item of concern. It's not necessarily based simply on this project alone. It's in terms of tax revenue, frankly, from projects that open up on Main Street. For good or ill, this is not the kind of project that generates large chunks of sales tax for the city, because the tax situs is usually where you receive the object, which is often for art galleries at home. Just like it is for tasting rooms, it'll be usually at home where you have things shipped. So my only concern with this project is that we should pay attention to the sales tax generation for projects get approved in the downtown. We have a limited amount of space, and that should be an item that we pay attention to as we move forward looking at projects in the future. We do not want a downtown full of sales sites that do not generate sales tax for the city. That was my only concern with this project. Otherwise, I think it's a fine project. They have been there for now almost 2 years and seem to fit well in the community. Does anyone have any other comments on this project at all? I do not see any hands. Let me check with Ms. Gamero one more time. Ms. Gamero, anybody out there in electronica that wishes to talk to us?
No hands raised, Chair Pont.
All right. In which case, a motion would be appropriate. And please, when you make the motion, note that we're speaking towards a particular resolution, the draft resolution attached. Oh, thank you for putting it up. Does anyone care to make a motion? Yes, Vice Chair Hale.
I move that we accept staff recommendation and determine that the project is exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15301, and accept the required findings and adopt the attached resolution granting use permit approval to establish an art gallery in the existing tenant space located at 1331 Main Street.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hale. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. We have a motion and a second. Secretary Gamero, will you tally the votes, please?
Vice Chair Hale,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Rothfeld,
Yes.
and Chair Pont.
Yes. Thank you. That takes us to item 6, scheduled matters. We have none, which takes us to item 7, department reports. Director DeRosa, do we have a report this evening?
I did have a few updates for you. First would be the Hunter project. We are going to take a budget addendum for completing the final EIR to council in May. We're still in the process of working on master responses, and we're also still waiting for the completion of the sewer study. And when we get that back, we'll know whether the document will be ready to go in that final form into hearings, or if it will trigger a recirculation if there's a new impact found. So I'll keep the commission apprised as I do in these regular meetings. And then some interesting developments with the zoning code. We've had one policy discussion with the council, and there's going to be another one at the meeting next week. The one last week was related to the parking impact overlay district. This is a subject area that the zoning code subcommittee asked staff to take back to the council to get direction on how to deal with the fees, since the fees are very antiquated from 1999, and are we still going to require parking? And so the conclusion of the feedback from that was twofold. One was that we're going to temporarily be eliminating the in lieu fee, and also there will not be any parking requirements, but on-site parking must be maintained. And then part 2 is post the code adoption, we will utilize some of the fees in that parking impact in lieu fund to pay for a downtown parking study, which has never been done, and will inform what we should be doing with our in lieu fee, and if there should be any change to our actual parking regulations downtown. And then the other follow-up item from the zoning code subcommittee was to get more clarifications from the council as it relates to formula businesses, how we want to, do we want to regulate them any differently than we do now? And are we being too restrictive? So that will definitely be an interesting discussion, and I will wrap the results of that back to the Planning Commission for, and of course, all this feedback is being put into the public review draft of the code. And then the last update is the housing element. Mr. Heacock shared with me that this week we received the administrative draft of the housing needs assessment. And so that's all the meaty policy part of the document. So that's under staff review, and we'll be getting that feedback to the consultant next week. So a lot of things happening and going on. I know sometimes you guys are waiting for a really big project to come, but believe me, you'll have it. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, if you don't happen to wear reading glasses now, you will be after reading all those documents. All right. That takes us to agenda forecasts. A list of current planning projects is available on the city website. And this is also the time for any commission member to request an item on a future agenda if they care to do so. Does anyone have any requests? Seeing none, that takes us to adjournment. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. We are adjourned.